NFL free agency is hot and storming. Most of the biggest signings of the offseason have now occurred. So let's talk about some of the winners and some of the losers. What's up, guys? It's Matt Mormon here with the ADP Hours Youth podcast, and we're going to go through five winners and five losers as well. We're going to kind of go in order. So my biggest losers and my biggest winners will be at the very end. Let's start things out here with my number 5 loser, that being Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this does not mean I'm going to rank Jalen Hurts as a fringe QB1. However, I did some pretty initial rankings right after the Super Bowl, and I actually had Jalen Hurts as my number 1 quarterback, even over Josh Allen. And unfortunately, kind of two big things happening here really brought him down my rankings all the way down to QB4 in my current draft I've got at the moment. And that's Jason Kelce's retirement and Saquon Barkley signing with the Eagles. To me, those are both indicators that kind of show going away from the tush push potentially. Obviously not their decision on Jason Kelce's retirement, of course, but that is a factor into all of this. And the signing of Saquon Barkley to go that heavily invested in a running back, which is not something that we have seen the Eagles do, not since probably, I guess, re-signing LaShawn McCoy was probably the last time they really gave real money to a running back. So to see them kind of go hard for one here, to me, that means they're going to take a little bit off of Jalen Hurts' plate. And that tippy top group of quarterbacks, it really is kind of nitpicking and really, you have to kind of find issues with all 4 of those guys, with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and of course, Jalen Hurts. And so I think with these things happening is just enough at the moment for me to get a little bit down on Jalen Hurts and move him down to my QB4. Now, my number 5 winner of this offseason has been Christian Kirk. And I'm going to kind of lump Evan Ingram in there with him as well, as the Jaguars letting Calvin Ridley walk away. He just signed earlier, just a little bit ago, with the Tennessee Titans. They did sign Gabe Davis, and they signed Devin Duvernay. Gabe Davis, we know exactly what he is for fantasy. He's kind of a deep ball specialist. Devin Duvernay, more of a special teams player, more of a kick returner than he is a wide receiver. And so it makes me think this may go back to being what it was just a couple years ago when Christian Kirk was a really, really strong wide receiver 2 option for your fantasy football team. And maybe last year with Evan Ingram, that those two kind of things can kind of meld together here, and we can really see this offense run through those 2 guys. I think Travis Etienne also just kind of a bit of a winner. They didn't bring in any of the running backs of note. Not that I really thought they would, but just the fact they didn't do that while also having Calvin Ridley go out the door helps him out as well. My number 4 loser, and this is one that I think a lot of people have higher on their losers list than me. I've still got some hope, but he's obviously a loser, and that's Tyjae Spears, the running back for the Tennessee Titans. Spears is a guy who I know I personally have had a lot of hope for this offseason of being a guy who could get a huge opportunity going into the 2024 season. Unfortunately, they did sign Tony Pollard. Now, because it's Pollard specifically, I think Tyjae Spears can still have a little bit of life in him. I think there still is a chance here that he goes on to be a really strong back this year and potentially even overtakes Pollard in that lead role and can really be a guy we can rely on as an RB2 mid-season, late season. It won't happen early on, so if you do kind of go a 0 RB route with your build, you're going to need to make sure to have a guy to play early on in the year, because I do fully expect Pollard to kind of be the lead back. But Pollard's had injury issues. Pollard's had usage issues as well. He's a guy where if he gets too much volume, he kind of tends to fall off a little bit. So I can definitely see Tennessee wanting to really keep Tyjae Spears be a part of this offense. I think Spears is good. I really do. I was very impressed with what I saw from him this season. And so I want to see more and more Tyjae Spears still. But without a doubt, he is absolutely a loser in an offense where they added Tony Pollard. They also did just add Calvin Ridley. So just more footballs going elsewhere. But who knows? Maybe this Titans offense won't quite be as much of a dumpster fire as we all think it is. And there could be some scoring opportunities in this offense and for this backfield. Let's go to my number 4 winner here, sticking with running backs who are going into their second year. That's Chase Brown. So I think you could almost view him as a loser in a way because they brought in Zach Moss. But in bringing in Zach Moss, they shipped out Joe Mixon. And that moves Chase Brown to staying in his same spot. But to me, it's a lesser player in front of him. Zach Moss, a player who I don't find particularly impressive. I could see this very much being a Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard type of situation, but on a far better offense. I think last year, even I kind of was in on the workload potential of a Miles Sanders last year. But the player was, he had that groin injury, but we also see this a lot of times where not great players look like they have obvious volume. They get overtaken by somebody. I think Chase Brown has that opportunity ahead of him. He's for sure a third down back kind of guy. He's not a real big back, so I don't expect him to be like a full-time feature back sort of player. But I do think that he is definitely a guy who could have real breakout opportunities. Being the back for a very high-scoring offense and a offense where Joe Burrow likes to check down quite a bit. He's forced into it with defenses playing that cover two, shell on him quite a bit. So Chase Brown, running back for the Bengals, definitely a player who I view as a bit of a winner with the whole Joe Mixon and Zach Moss situation. All right, my number 3 losers here, and it's losers because this is a duo. That's both Brian Robinson and Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler joining the Washington Commanders, where Brian Robinson was already there. He does kind of slot potentially right into Antonio Gibson's former role as Gibson now goes up to New England. But I was really just kind of hoping for Ekeler to go to a higher volume or higher scoring offense and go to one with maybe a pure pocket passer. I don't know what Drake May is going to be as far as a check down artist goes in his rookie year. If it's Jaden Daniels, then obviously that's going to be very concerning for him. And, if it is a more passing work role, then that totally takes that away from Brian Robinson. He kind of just becomes exactly what he was last year. And I was hopeful that they wouldn't spend too much capital at running back. I figured they'd bring in somebody to replace Gibson, but I was kind of hoping it was going to be kind of a lower level rookie and really kind of let B-Rob run with it. And on top of this, if it would have been like a pure passing down back who I'm not worried at all about other things, the way Gibson was for Brian Robinson, then okay, I can just kind of slot B-Rob right back in where he was last year. Problem there is Austin Ekeler has shown to be a very good goal line back. And now you have to worry about Brian Robinson potentially losing some of that role as well to Austin Ekeler. So that's a bit of a problem there as well. To me, Brian Robinson and Austin Ekeler, both losers. Let's go to my next winner here. My number 3 winner, Josh Jacobs, going to the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Jones going out the door in that move. We'll talk about him again here in just a little bit, but let's talk about Josh Jacobs here. So he goes up to Green Bay, a exciting young offense. He becomes the elder statesman of the offense at just like 26 years old. And this is the rare running back free agent where I actually do believe this will work out. And famous last words, that's what you say right before you jump off the cliff with it. But I don't know. I think it's a good fit for the offense. It's a pretty good offensive line in front of him. Jordan Love looks like the answer at quarterback. Should be a really explosive offense as it was last year. Aaron Jones, his late season run was excellent. And I think that showed the potential of a running back in this offense. I think kind of the earlier portion of the season when he was hurt and, they're kind of just having to mix and match with some guys. That showed what happens if it's just a replacement level running back in that lineup. But I really think late season Aaron Jones really gave me a lot of hope for what Josh Jacobs can be in Green Bay. My number 2 loser. I like this move a lot from an NFL standpoint. Unfortunately for this player, it's not very good for him for fantasy. That's Deontay Johnson. Not to say that he was sitting at the top of the mountain and fell off of it in Pittsburgh. But for the last 2 years now, he has definitely declined with the Steelers, obviously with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett as quarterbacks. That's been a bit of a mess for him. But, Russell Wilson was coming in. I love this we're going to talk about the other guy here in just a second. I love it for Pickens. But with Deontay Johnson, now he gets shipped out to Carolina. And he does get to be the number 1 option, probably. But he does have a bit of a target competition with Adam Thielen because Thielen does a lot of the same things that Deontay Johnson does. And hopefully Deontay Johnson's just good enough to totally wipe that away, be the pure number 1 target. But the fact there is another player who does short area targets like you do is not great for your overall target volume. Also, of course, Bryce Young was a complete mess last year. The offense was horrid in Carolina. And if that continues, then you're going to struggle once again to score touchdowns with Deontay Johnson. So that would be a big-time problem. I also don't think they're done adding receivers yet either. I can see them signing a lower-level guy as well as drafting one in April. So the other side of that coin, though, the other side of that move is my second winner of NFL free agency, and that is George Pickens. So Pickens kind of notoriously a downfield receiver. Russell Wilson, a bit of a downfield thrower. Last year was the kind of first year we've ever seen Russ really kind of rein it in. And I think that was less to do with interior arm strength as a veteran quarterback. That was more to do with Sean Payton. And I think that he's going to go right back to going down the field. I don't love the Arthur Smith offensive coordinator, but I do like Deontay Johnson being out of there. I do like Russell Wilson as the upgrade at quarterback. I don't want to go crazy about Russ at quarterback because I feel like we've learned this lesson many times the last handful of years that these kind of mediocre quarterbacks shifting chairs. I think back to we used Carson Wentz as like, oh, well, this is a great thing for these Washington pass catchers. But we also used Carson Wentz leaving Indy as like, this is a great thing for these Indy pass catchers. So these mediocre quarterbacks, I don't want to make too much of a fuss out of when they move around. However, I do think for Pickens specifically, I think Russell Wilson's going to be a very good thing for him. My biggest loser, my number one loser, and unfortunately it is a collection of players here, is the Minnesota Vikings weapons. That includes even Justin Jefferson, right? So Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson, all four of them. Excellent players, excellent weapons. However, with Kirk Cousins going down to Atlanta, the Vikings then signing Sam Darnold and probably going with a rookie quarterback. So I don't want to make too much out of the Darnold of it all, but a rookie quarterback probably being the fourth rookie quarterback off the board, probably being J.J. McCarthy. I don't love it. And I don't love it, especially for Addison, Hawkinson, and Jones. I think with a rookie, again, we will see. Maybe they make a crazy move and go even higher. But even if it is JJ, regardless of how you feel about JJ McCarthy, most of the time with rookie quarterbacks, we just don't see big production for the receivers. Last year, definitely just had the outlier with C.J. Stroud. However, over the course of time, we have seen this where rookie quarterbacks come in and, low touchdown rates and sometimes locking in on one guy, which that's the benefit for Jefferson. But I don't know. I see a bit of a struggle there, especially for Addison, especially for Hawkinson. And, of course, Aaron Jones, I think at this point in his career, kind of touchdown dependent. And Minnesota, I just think is going to have a hard time getting those touchdowns at this point. So the flip side, however, of Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta means finally, Drake London gets a quarterback. Kyle Pitts gets a quarterback. Bijan Robinson gets a quarterback. Hey, Darnell Mooney, come on in. And you get a quarterback too with all of this. So that's outstanding having Kirk Cousins go to the Falcons. All these guys who we've said, just banging our heads against the wall about Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, and even like an old Matt Ryan, right? The last time they had him. It's just so refreshing to have all these young weapons, to have a really good quarterback, or at least what should be a really good quarterback. I do have just a bit of this little thing in the back of my head that says, but he's like 36. And he's also coming off a torn Achilles. And I'm kind of lower on the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers coming off the torn Achilles. Maybe it's just, blind faith that I'm kind of willing to push that to the side a little bit and believe in all these young Falcons. But Drake London, the biggest winner of them all to me. Bijan Robinson established himself as the RB2 in redraft even. And Kyle Pitts, he moves himself right on up. I'm going to finish up my rankings hopefully in the next couple of days, and I'll put out a video about those and kind of where all these guys totally fall out. But Kyle Pitts, I kind of think off the top of my head, tight end 6, I think, is probably where he's going to land to. So very exciting for all these Atlanta Falcons weapons. That's going to do it for me for this episode, guys, of these winners and losers from NFL free agency. Who are some of your biggest winners? Who are some of your biggest losers? Is there anybody I missed? Anybody who, had their value really escalate from things that happened in the last few days, or anybody who's seen their stock really just plummet over the last couple days? So guys, let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to check out, I did some quick reactions on every single move that's happened so far. So check that one out right now as well, so you can stay on up to date and keep it locked right here in the ADP.